Our next version of the index match formula uses what's called the array function, and we kind of delved into the array when we learned the sum product formula. So what the sum product formula is, it's sort of a workaround for an array formula. So let's just talk about what an array formula is. So I'm going to draw up the same example that I had before using sums and products, and you'll see how that applies to the index match that we are about to learn. So remember, we said that if we wanted the sum of the products of 1 and 50, 2 and 100, 3 and 150, 4 and 200, and 5 and 250, we could do that really three ways. We could do equals 50 times 1, multiply them together, and then add all of that up, and we get 2750. The other way to do it is to, and this is probably the easiest way to get the answer, is to use the sum product formula, and that says look at array G15 to G19 and look at array H15 to H19, add them, multiply the value in column G by the value in column H, and add them all together, and you get 2750. But what sum product really is it's a workaround for an array formula. So what an array formula says is take the data in one column, and whatever function you apply to that formula, have your formula look in one column and the column over at the same time, and you'll see what I mean. So take the sum of G15 to G19, multiply that by the sum of H15 to H19. Now, say we were to just hit enter. Our output is an error, and that's because Excel is saying, I don't know what you mean. You can't just multiply two ranges by each other. It doesn't know what you want it to do. But let's go back into the formula. By hitting Control-Shift-Enter, hold on a second. Hitting Control-Shift-Enter, we tell Excel, look at the value in G15, multiply it by the value adjacent to it in the array in column H, and then add that to the product of the values in G16 and H16 and so on for the entire range of each array, and that gets us to the sum of the products of each array. Now, the index match that we're about to discuss also uses an array formula, and you'll see why in a second. So let's start with our regular index, and remember, we need the extra criteria. We need Robinson, Cano, and year to return the batting average for Robinson, Cano in 2013, because otherwise our formula would only pick up the value in D16, which is Robinson Cano's average in 2012. And that's because the index match, without the extra horizontal year criteria, would only pick up the first value for Robinson Cano. So we need to specify which batting average we want. And you'll see how this applies to our salary data in a minute. So we need to create our index like normal. We want to return position and average. And we lock our index, and then we go to our match function to look for the criteria we want in our rows, and we tell Excel to look for the value 1. And just like the sum product formula, what Excel is doing is using binary logic to and by that I mean ones and zeros, to determine whether our outputs equal each other. So we're going to say look for the value of 1, and then we're going to say look for the value in cell A20, and we're going to lock our column, and ask, does that equal a value in our range from A13 to A17? And we're going to lock our range there too. And we are going to multiply that by the output from our names. And we're going to lock the column again. And we're going to say, look for Robinson-Cano, the value Robinson, or does the value Robinson-Cano equal any of the values in our lookup range, our lookup array. All right, and now just like before, we want our match type. We're done inputting horizontal criteria, so our match type is going to equal 0 for an exact match. And then we also need our column criteria, so we enter our next match in, and we say look at the cell above and see if that matches anything in our lookup array, which is going to be from C12 to D12. We're going to keep that as it is, and then we need an exact match. And then, just as I said before, this is going to be an array formula, and here let's explain what the array is doing. It's saying look at what's in cell A20. Does cell A20 equal the value in cell A13? No, 0. A14, no, 0. A15, yes, 1. A16, no, 0. A17, yes, 1. Multiply that by the value in column B, and this is where the array comes in, because we need our formula to be looking at multiple columns at once. And so the values that this second multiplication is going to output 1 for is going to be Robinson-Cano. So the only instance in which we get a 1 output is between columns or cells A17 and B17, because that's what matches our criteria in row 20. 2013 and Robinson-Cano match each other between our references and our lookups in cells A and B17. So let's hit Control-Shift-Enter and carry our formula to the right. Oh, hold on, I must have locked something I didn't need to. Sorry about that. Realized that I needed to lock my range in the second match function. So let's hit Control-Shift-Enter again. Carry our formula to the right, and we have our batting average of 320 for Robinson-Cano in 2013. Had we not input the year criteria, our formula would only have known to look at Robinson-Cano's average in 2012. Now let's apply that to the payroll data we need to pull in. So what we need to do here is we need to get payroll data by team and year for between 2005 and 2014. So our criteria are going to look very similar. So our index is going to be payroll data. So let's look in this tab here. index is going to be our data and our ranks. Let's lock our range. And then we need to do our first match function. Look for the value of 1. And say, does 2014, lock our column, equal any of the values in our year reference in the payroll data tab. And again, lock our range, multiply that by the outputs, or multiply that by the results from our team references. And again, we lock our column. And we say, does that equal the teams in the payroll data? Done with our horizontal criteria, so we want an exact match. Then we comma match for our column criteria. And this time we want to make sure that our row is locked. And we reference C1 and D1. Again, get an exact match, close our parentheses, and hit Control-Shift-Enter. Let's see what happened there. Let's try that again. Let's see what's in our formula here. Sorry about that. I realized that I had some references that were different. My year inputs were not like between the two sheets. So let's go back and put our formula in again. So we're going to have our index be our payroll and payroll rank on the payroll tab. We need to enter our first match, look for the value 1 in our rows. Our first reference is going to be year, so we're going to say, does our value in column A equal our year value in column A of our payroll sheet. Going to close our parentheses, multiply that by the outputs for team. So we say, does the output in column B equal anything in our range in column B of our payroll data? And then we want an exact match. Now we need to get our column criteria. So we say, look for the value in column, or in row 1, lock our row, and look at the range C1 to D1, lock our range there, exact match, close parentheses, and there we have, carry our formula down, we have our payroll data and ranks. And just so we know, we can check our work, let's just look for Baltimore Orioles in 2014. First, let's filter on 2014. And if we look for